Hello and welcome to part four, the final part of this series on building the NX bridge and the Fremo module that the bridge resides on. As you can see, these are some video. This is some video from Timonium on this past Sunday. We're running some of our trains across it. The first one's the fast freight, the Reading and Northern fast freight, and then the second one's going to be a Norfolk Southern auto rack train. So I'm going to break this video. There's a lot to cover in this video. When I left you last, I had built the module, the framework and everything for the module. I showed that process. And we had gotten the bridge up to the point where it was mechanically functional, but there was still a lot of actual construction work and cosmetic work left on the bridge. So I'm going to go attack things from both those angles. The module and the bridge are not complete. I would say they're about 90, maybe 95% complete, enough to get to the show this weekend. But there's still a lot of little details and painting and weathering that need to be done. And I'll go over that at the end. But we're going to start, like I said, I'll go from two directions. One's the bridge, and then the other's the module and the scenery on the module itself. So we're going to start first with the bridge, what I did to get the bridge finished up. Okay, so this is where we left off on the bridge. I had mocked up the counterweight there with cardboard. You can see an earlier version that just didn't look right. The counterweight bottom needed to be parallel with the kind of the earth, and the other one it was kind of canted. So we redesigned it, easy with a laser and cutting up cardboard mock-ups. And then we move on to making the real thing. This is made up of 5 pieces of 1/8 inch acrylic that was laser cut. I laser cut in little holes so I could insert evergreen styrene rods to index the whole thing, clamp it up, use some Tamiya model filler on all the seams. And then, the top is the steel, the bottom is the concrete counterweight. Before we put on the counterweight, the part of the bridge that I cut out of the original Walthers bridge, I had to kind of dress up a little bit, cap off, file all those down, make them look kind of pretty. Just use some styrene block standoffs to get the counterweight spacing away from the existing structure as the prototype that I'm modeling had. And then just clamp it on with some glue, some Plastrut liquid, whatever, cement that I use for everything basically. There you can see it clamped on. We were test fitting the bridge on the module and making sure the operation, everything would clear. So you can see the wires kind of hanging out there. And there it is, raised with the counterweights, also to make sure the counterweights cleared the piers, which we were worried about too. And everything else. There were a couple of little modifications I had to make, and it also gave me clues on where I had to put in additional framing for the clearances with those racks. This is for one of the deck girder spans. The deck girder spans are scratch built from, I think, from Central Valley stuff or microengineering stuff. That's the motor for the bridge. That earlier picture was the walkways for the one span of deck girder. Just laser cut that stuff and glued it up with some ACC. Then we have the test fit. That you can see the finished walkway of the on that one deck girder span for the access to the bridge. Okay, so worked on the bridge kind of upside down and right side up a lot so I could get to everything. Here it's flipped over and I'm kind of adding details, filling in stuff. Now you can see a lot of this framework I put in, and all that framework had to clear those gear racks that extend when the bridge is raised. So I had a lot of magic marker marks and things like that to tell me what exactly would clear and what one And you can see the acrylics overlaid with some polybacker, which is an 023 thick material that's easy to laser cut. It's actually like a kind of a pressed cardboard laminate material. It's the what you put underneath Formica when you make Formica, really. But I can put the little rivet details in and that kind of stuff. Made a cover for the drive and everything. Kind of dress that up with some window castings later on. And then I added some walkways and some stairs. The bridge does need more walkways and stairs and ladders, which will get added. That's one of those, 5% incomplete things that I need to go back and revisit. So that's the bridge. The bridge is functional at this point. I'm not going to show painting it because I didn't take any pictures of it. Now we're back to the module. So the module, when I left you last time, we had the basically the frame and it all built. And you can see all this gray stuff. That's all body filler, auto body filler, 2-part, Bondo type body filler. Filling in all the little pinholes that I use to hold the thing together. And just filling any seams where the tabs came out. I'm filling where the tabs are. You can also see I'm marking out the center lines and, exactly where the piers are going so I can mock up the piers. The piers at this point weren't built, so I needed to build all them. You can see there's a good picture of like those tabs that projected through the sides to hold everything together, and I'm just filling everything, just slobbering it on, and then I sand it all. The one thing that, I like having everything just sanded smooth so you can't even tell those tabs are there. If you looked at the module this week in Timonium, you wouldn't have been able to see any of those tabs sticking through the side, unless maybe you got out a magnifying glass and bright light or something, but maybe not even then. So there's mixing up the filler just on scraps of the plywood. Again, multiple times. Even though this is body filler and it's pretty good, compared to like spackle and stuff, it still shrinks. So you still need to sand it and then go over it a second time usually to get a level fill on everything. Something I'm kind of fussy about is the edges of the module. I like my edges to disappear, whether it's with, if I'm using foam or plywood for the tops. I don't want to see that like interface between the fascia and the module. I just want the scenery to just disappear sharp at the edge. So you can see I put a primer on everything. It's like a gray. It's a thick bodied filling primer, so it actually sandable, and it's a water-based product, but it's sandable. It's a water-based urethane. And I can, and even then, after I sanded the primer the first time, I went back over and added some more filling, you can see there, and then sanded it again. I did leave out the spots where I'm gluing it on the piers, just so there's good adhesion in those spots. I didn't want, anything to come loose. You can see I put on the cork road bed. Holes are cut for the Digitrax panels. Now I'm starting with the piers and the abutments. I made this stuff all out of a thing called HDU, it's commonly known as maybe sign foam. It's high density urethane. It looks like pink foam, but it's not. It's extremely heavy, very solid. It's sold by some art supply houses as balsa. They call it balsa foam. It's kind of, you can carve it, you can sand it, you can saw it like wood. It glues together, and you can see there I'm making up the abutments. I'll end up carving some details into them, and then I'll sand the edges all rounded over, and I'll even chip some of them, like chip concrete. But great stuff. Super expensive though. I think the sheet this came off of, I save all my scraps, and the sheet that came off of was I think about $400 for a 4x8 sheet of 2-inch material. All right, so maybe it was 1.5 inch material even, I think. So this is me being stupid in my shop. I had an old Kiwi barge laying around, And one of the scenic details I wanted to add was kind of a sunken vessel, or partially sunken vessel. So here's me on my belt sander, sanding kind of like waterline onto the barge to give it that half submerged look. This is kind of a stupid thing to do. You know, believe it or not, I consider this sander to be one of the more dangerous tools in my shop, and I have some pretty, I have tools with 15 horsepower motors in them, that move by themselves, and table saws. This is much more dangerous than a table saw, in my opinion, after almost 40 years as a woodworker. The only tools I ever got hurt on is sanders. For whatever reason, they're just dangerous. And if you talk to other professional woodworkers, they'll probably tell you similar stories about sanders. Same thing with carpentry. You don't ever hear of many people falling off of extension ladders, like 28-foot, 30-foot extension ladders. But there's a lot of people that gotten hurt falling off of 4-foot and 6-foot folding ladders. Just little A-frame ladders. So it's kind of funny. It's the tools that you don't think will hurt you are the ones that will hurt you. This actually worked out pretty good. I had to kind of keep going in spurts because the plastic was heating up too much. And then I keep going back and kind of like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing here. Okay, going back and kind of like testing it to see how it's sitting. That kind of thing. And I just did it till I got it right, and then cleaned it up with a hobby knife and files and so forth. But one of the little, there it is, a little piece popped off that I had to glue on. You can see it sitting inside there, and then I just rusted the shit out of it with all kinds of rust effects and weathering powders and what have you. All right, so again, still mocking things up as I go along. Just try to make sure everything fits well. And believe it or not, a big deal are the heights on these things, with these abutments and everything. Because I'm dealing with the deck girders and the movable bridge, I had to make sure all the track heights matched up perfectly. So here I'm just kind of filling in with foam, that space between the two levels. You can see I'm just kind of roughing it out. I just use some regular pink foam. There's some oil tanks. Old Kiwi crap I've had laying around since I was a teenager. I think I built these things, so never throw anything out, right? This was off my former HO layout in New Jersey, and it was a part of the coke works of the steel mill. It was actually a benzene production building, I believe, or ammonia nitrate production, something like that. Anyway, I thought it would fit well, on the side, given it's an urban area. I wanted to kind of give the, industrial look to everything. So again, filling in the foam, testing out the abutments. You can see I started painting the abutments. Good day to be working inside, 5 degrees outside and 68 inside. I think this was, or 68% humidity outside, sorry. I think it was like 74 inside, whatever. But anyway, nice and toasty though. Here's just putting some mesh tape, like, for drywall over the foam as kind of like a backer. I am going to use lightweight hydrocal over that, and just use, a minimal thickness of that to keep the weight down. So you can see I put that on, a couple coats or whatever of, then I'm starting to put some color, some brown, like thin brown paint on, just craft paint. Adding some rocks, like riprap, which the Real River has, the Passaic River has a lot of riprap like that. It's just, whether it was put there by the Army Corps of Engineers or the businesses that own the property there, I'm not sure. The riprap was aquarium gravel that I picked up at Walmart. There's some, these are 3D printed piers, like the feet for the deck girders. It's always important to put that in bridges. No bridges just sit on abutments. They always have like kind of a hinge foot on them, so you need to add that detail. You can buy them commercially, or these were actually part of the Walt Whitman Bridge ones that I designed, and I just scaled them down a little bit. Didn't even scale them, just scaled them down in the slicer for the 3D printer. That's all. So you can see I'm adding some color to the riprap. I use Vallejo's paints for a lot, Vallejo Air and Vallejo model colors, but mostly Vallejo Air. I've been using Vallejo paints for about 25 years, or maybe even more, maybe even 30 years. And I love them. They're great paints, and I won't use anything else. Occasionally, if I can't get the right color, I'll use a Tamiya. But I gave up railroad colors long before they discontinued them. You can see I'm adding some waterline effects to around the piers, which the piers have been weathered with a wash. Again, some Model Air that just thinned out, or just a simple wash. You can see I'm varying the effect of on the riprap, just like the real thing. Again, model washes and that kind of stuff. So now I'm filled up here. I'm adding all kinds of scenery. I added a darker line. You can see sprayed around the abutments. Again, like thin model air. Vallejo Model Air is a great thing to spray over scenery. Anywhere. You can just keep toning down colors and changing colors. Hold all the scenery down with scenic cement. It's mostly woodland scenic stuff. Those whatever they are, those stackable concrete barriers, we made them up. They're 3D printed, my design. The concrete blocks are resin cast. The pallets are, I don't know, had them laying around. Those little, looks like dumped concrete there. We had actually a little rebar sticking out of that. That's like that HDU foam that was left over from cutting the abutments out. Some washed up, you always have all these washed up trees from flooding on the rivers. Now we're making, Jimmy's there making up like fencing, industrial area, city. You're going to have plenty of barbed wire fence around everything. We don't model the barbed wire. Maybe someday we'll go back. I don't know. But just having the bed pieces there gives you the effect of it without actually seeing it. I haven't seen it done very well, I guess. So I'd rather not do it than do it poorly. Maybe there's people that have done it good, but I haven't seen anything in HO that I thought looked great. So you can see we abandoned this factory. The layout it came off of was 50s based, and it was an operational thing, but we put corrugated metal over like the first floor windows, added some graffiti, rusted everything up. Even the door had like the metal pulled back, like, vagrants would have been breaking into it. The thing with the graffiti is decals. Not good enough to do it freehand yet. I've been working on that. But the one thing with the graffiti, when you use the decals, you definitely want to spray a thin wash over them of like a kind of, we use a light gray spray, very thin, maybe 5-to-1 Model Air to thinner, and just put a couple coats of that over it, and it dulls it down enough. So you can see the scene. This is a base. Oh, there's a little filing cabinet. That's 3D printed with the drawer open. That's a 3D printed filing cabinet. So now the last thing I did was the water, believe it or not. So there I'm roughing in the water. Now I'm back to using craft paints, not Vallejo, just regular craft paints. Kind of mixing some tan and some, like, I think it was an ivy green it was called, and kind of mixing and modeling it with the brush to give it like a mottled effect. That's MOTTLE. To just to give it that effect. I didn't do much with the bridge or the water, but I basically put the green down, and then I went over it with a gloss urethane and water-based gloss urethane, and then sanded it between coats. So the one thing that people don't model, you can see me modeling here, are the wood protector. I don't know what they're called. There's a name for them. around bridge abutments. You see them if you boat at all, you know that they're always there. There's never a raw concrete abutment. And they're always beat up and falling apart, so they're easy to model because you don't have to be terribly accurate. These pilings always move in the mud, so they don't put them in straight to start with, and then they move. The whole thing's bamboo skewers. I barely used a tenth of a bag, which probably cost $1 at a dollar store. So there you can kind of see, I still don't have track down, the rails down. And this is, I think, maybe the less than 48 hours from when we're setting up at Timonium. I moved it back to my shop now. It had been in my basement, moved it back out there, and made up some signs for the side. You can see a control panel front for the back there for raising and lowering the bridge. It's connected to a little 3D printed box that plugs in with a cable so we can control the bridge. We didn't end up using it, and I'll get into that in a little bit. And then I had posted some stuff online about a new idea I had for my legs, which is not really a new idea. People have done it, but I 3D printed adjusters that are up top, so nobody has to be on the ground adjusting the height of the module when we're setting it up. One person can do it from the top. They worked awesome. Let me put it that way. Everything worked great. I designed these things with an Acme thread, which is a very coarse, machine thread. It's not a screw. It's not a V-shaped. It's a trapezoidal thread. One turn is 1/4 of an inch, and I made a nice, comfortable wheel to grab with your hand, just turn it. And then the bottom is the mounting block that it screws to the module. And then the thing to the left is the foot that goes on a 1-inch electrical conduit. Now, again, worked great at the show. Everything worked better than I expected. Let's put it that way. However, it was a little flimsier than I thought it would be. And there's some things I'm going to change with the design. Beef it up a little bit and put in an embedded steel rod just in case anything ever failed that the module wouldn't come crashing down. But other than that, what I did for the show, and because I was working on the module still, putting track on, I needed it to be pretty stable. I created this wood thing that just slides on. You slide it on the feet onto it, or the legs onto it, and it kind of braced the whole thing. And it was double duty because it served to hold a shelf where we put this transformer, because we kind of ended up liking using the transformer better than the actual going off the accessory bus on the module. We like powering it that way. So this is our crime scene. We got a dead guy in the river and some divers. I think they were Noach or one of those European figure companies, Prizer maybe. Woodland Scenics cops. If you look real close, the Woodland Scenics cops, most of them have a donut in their hand, which is kind of funny. There's a crime scene truck, which I think was a Walther's scenic detail thing. So we have this kind of seen a million places in cities and places where people go to dump crap, hang out, do all kinds of nefarious shit. And, there's a dead guy there. The funny thing at the show was that at Timonium, it was kind of like a Rorschach test. Half the people, especially the moms with kids, said they were rescuing somebody. The rest of the people said somebody was dead. So, from the author, the guy was dead. So I thought it was kind of funny, though, seeing what people's take on it was. Okay, so at the module, there you can see, just turn it, adjust the module. I'm not adjusting a lot because it's all set up, but very easy. Best leg system we've had so far. So I'm going to make a bunch of improvements, and then I'm going to put the stuff online so anybody can download it, that wants to. And you can see we'll probably actually keep this thing for the bridge because it creates a nice little table for our stuff. Now, we didn't want to interfere with the power that we have enough crap plugged in with our group and the size of our layout. So that's a Ryobi power pack. It just uses a 18 volt battery, and converts it to 120, and we plug the transformer in. And again, that motor is such a tiny little motor that the you know, we never changed the battery the whole show. And we opened it, probably like 50, 60, 70 times. So maybe more. There's the motor. You can see, I think it's like 200 milliamps or 20 milliamps, something like that. It's nothing. There's the thing. Great little system. And again, I kind of labeled for the directional control. We like the transformer because we could actually kind of slow the bridge down and speed it up a little bit, which kind of like the real bridge tender would have done that. So, powering up, and I think it's all transformer kicks on and the bridge starts raising. We can also control the speed. Very smooth. I am very happy. There were some issues when I painted the bridge because I was rushing. But other than that, it was smooth operation. So I use diodes and limit switches. So when the limit switch gets tripped, it's a normally closed. Wait, yeah, the limit switches are closed when they're kind of like not tripped, and when they get tripped, they open. But when they open, there's a diode across the contacts of the switch, which will allow me to reverse the polarity, but it'll stop the motion in the one direction. And there's a limit switch on the pier and a limit switch up in the tower, except the limit switch in the tower is reversed. So I have to reverse it. So I had to manually stop that. But anyway, thanks for watching. Again, there'll be some updates between now and our next show at Timonium in May. And maybe we'll see you out there. Thanks for watching. Take care.